Hey, what is going on, guys? This is DK. Back at you with another video here. It's predicting the Thursday Night Football Showdown site between the Chargers and the Raiders. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos breaking down NBA, NFL, PGA, and esports, daily fantasy sports slates. Before we get into the breakdown, I want to thank you guys again. The support has been absolutely insane these last couple of days. We hit over 800 concurrent viewers in the NBA live stream. So thank you guys. Really do appreciate the support. If you guys enjoy all this content, if you could leave a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't upload videos when I go live. That would really help me out. And as always, for these showdown sites, I'll be live 30 minutes before lock. And for NBA, for the preseason right now, I'm going live 45 minutes before lock. So got a ton of content you got coming out for you guys every single day with videos, with live streams, multiple videos, multiple live streams every single day. Also, if you guys cannot watch these videos, I do upload on Apple Podcasts. The link is in the description below, which is the DK DFS show. And finally, again, I should probably have it up, but I want to thank PrizePicks for sponsoring the show. If you guys are unfamiliar with PrizePicks, well, it's a site where you can bet on player props, right? So, for example, right now, Austin Eckler's at 19.5. You can bet the over, you can bet the under. You can go from anywhere from 2 to 5 bets, and you can mix sports, right? So you can play a couple of college basketball, pair with a couple of NFL. And you can win up to 10x your money. So if you guys are interested in signing up, you can use the code DKDFS. That's DKDFS, all one word. Link in the description below. 100% match up to $100. So you put $100 in, you get $200 to play with. It's a win-win. So yeah, with that all out of the way, let's jump into the video. All right, before we talk about players and their prices, let's take a look at the Vegas odds and the snap counts for each of these teams in their most recent game. So, Vegas odds currently it's sitting at a 53 over under. The Raiders are currently 3.5 point favorites. Let's take a look at the snap counts. We'll start with the Chargers. So running back, Austin Eckler played about 60% of the snaps, and he was a guy who was really high on the main slate. He had a nice game, and that's about what we expected. Keelan Ballage played 32%, and Justin Jackson's first game back, he played 15% of the snaps, so they did utilize 3 backs in this one. At wide receiver, it was Guyton, it was Allen, it was Ty Johnson playing a majority of the game. Now, we do have Mike Williams' status up in the air. If he does miss, then Tyler Johnson stands to benefit. If he does play, then Tyler Johnson, like we saw in Week 13, would not play a ton. Right? He played 21% of snaps, whereas Mike Williams played 82%. So, got to keep an eye on that with the status of Mike Williams. At tight end, no real surprise here. Hunter Henry played 90% of snaps. The XFL legend, Darnell Parham, played 19% of snaps. He actually is a good pass-catching tight end, Parham that is, but he's just not playing a ton. Running backs for the Raiders, I should say. Josh Jacobs only played 43% of snaps. That was his first game back from an ankle injury. Rashard played 31%. Booker played 28%. I do expect the snaps to go up for Jacobs, but again, by how much is the question. At wide receiver, Ruggs, Aguilar, no one played a ton here. Ruggs, Aguilar, Renfro, hovered in the 50 to 60% range. Edwards and Zay Jones played at about a quarter of the game. Now, we do have no news that Henry Ruggs is out for COVID. So, Renfro, his role is not going to change. He's still going to play out of the slot. I think Aguilar probably plays a little more. And I think Bryan Edwards, Zay Jones kind of fill in as well. I think they probably both go up to maybe in the 40 to 50% range for snap count. So both those guys are potential value plays on this one. And at tight end, again, no real surprise here either. Waller, 97% of snaps. They do, will utilize 2 tight ends here and there. Moreau, Witten, again, they get utilized a little, but not a ton. So let's start at the top here. And Justin Herbert at 11.8K. Last couple of games has been disappointing. No doubt about it. 6 and 16 fantasy points, but he's still airing it out a ton. 53 and 44 pass attempts. So I expect Herbert to have a better game in this one. The matchup's also pretty good against the Raiders, and this one is on the higher end for over-unders, 53. So there should be some points scored in this one. Again, Herbert does possess upside. I think, these last couple of games will lower the ownership. And for cash games, it's tricky because we have a lot of, high volume guys. We have Allen, we have Eckler, even Waller. So Normally, I advocate for playing both quarterbacks in cash games. I don't necessarily think you have to play both quarterbacks for cash just because, again, the targets are so high in Allen. Same with Eckler, right? He's just going to get a ton of targets. Waller, kind of the same thing. So there's a lot of guys that are high-volume guys up here other than the quarterbacks that I think you could look to. So you don't necessarily have to play both in cash games. At the price for Herbert, I think he does go a little lower owned just because you have Allen, you have Eckler below him, and you have Waller, you have some other guys. So I don't think he's going to be super, super popular. I do think he bounces back in this one, though. Keenan Allen's at 11K. They have him. They have Eckler. They have Henry. All listed as questionable. They're all limited. I expect them to be full go. Sorry, can't talk. It's been a long day. Targets, I always mention this with the Keenan Allen. 19, 10, 11, and 11 targets. Now, they're not long routes, right? He had 5 catches, 48 yards, 9 catches for 52 yards, but he still possesses upside. Right? He had that one game, 16 catches, 145 yards. So I do like Keenan Allen quite a bit. I think he's a really, really safe play if you can get to him. And same with Eckler. I like the top 2 targets here for the Chargers. They're just so safe. He's their bell cow back, right? They still will utilize Ballage, Justin Jackson a bit, but I expect about 60% of the snaps. He had 15 carries for 79 yards. He's very, very involved in the passing game. So I really like Eckler. I really like Keenan Allen. I think you can definitely play both because that's mostly where the Chargers offense is, right? It's Allen, it's Eckler. So I really like those guys at the top. Derek Carr's at 10K. So Raiders are, a run-first team. But last couple games, we've seen 47 and 45 pass attempts. Now, that game against the Colts, they fell behind, so kind of needed it. But the game against the Jets, they were playing from ahead. He still threw the ball 47 times. 35 and 28 fantasy points in back-to-back games. I think he will probably be higher owned just because of the recent games. For me, I personally, even though Herbert is more expensive, I think I give the edge to Herbert because I think he is lower owned for GPPs. But I have no issue with Carr at 10K. Again, a safer option. Quarterbacks do have the highest floor on the slate. But like I said, this slate's a little bit different for sure because we have a lot of high-volume guys with Allen, with Eckler, with Waller. You can make the argument for Jacobs too. Let's see. So Darren Waller himself at 9.4K. Well, we know this guy has insane upside. They're missing a piece of the passing game with Henry Ruggs. Could argue maybe that helps Darren Waller even more. Either way, they're just going to look to him a ton. 7, 7, 17, and 10 targets. He's averaging like over double-digit targets. He does possess a lot of upside. Now, the floor on Waller is probably lower than guys like Eckler, guys like Keenan Allen, but he still possesses a good amount of upside and is a little bit cheaper. So, yeah, I really like the top targets here for each team, right? With Allen, with Eckler, with Waller. You're going to have to make some tough calls there and who you're going to prioritize. But, yeah, the guys at the top I do really, really like. Below that, we have Josh Jacobs at 8.8K. So his first game back, that kind of limited him. My issue with Josh Jacobs is he's kind of game flow dependent. Sure, he had 3 catches and 5 targets. That's actually more of an outlier. Normally, he's a guy that will get like 1 or 2 catches. So you kind of need them to be playing from ahead. And they did utilize Rashard. They did utilize Devontae Booker. So it does worry me. I know it's only, or he missed the last game, so maybe they limited him a bit. But I think in the moment at 8.8, he's just more of a contrarian option. Now, that's not saying he's out of play. He does still possess upside. He's still their most talented running back. But at this price, I personally feel more comfortable with Waller. I feel more comfortable with Allen. I feel more comfortable with Eckler for a little bit more. Now, Aguilar's at 7.4. I think he's going to be a pretty popular play in the mid-range. And it's hard to argue what he's been doing. He's been pretty consistent. 9, 6, 11, 9 targets. He's been their most consistent wide receiver. No Henry Ruggs. Again, I think he probably plays a little bit more. Now, sure, he does still have issues dropping the football, but you're getting him at a nice discount off some of those guys at the top. I think Aguilar is a perfectly fine play in the mid-range if you need someone there. Mike Williams at 6.2K. Well, we got to keep an eye on this. He was limited in practice. He missed the last game, so we'll see. Again, if he misses, we can look to Ty Johnson, but they priced him up a bit. If he plays, Mike Williams is in play for GPPs. He's going to run the deep routes. He possesses big play upside, but does have a pretty low floor. I would compare him maybe to a guy like Hollywood Brown, right? Like we just recently saw. Hollywood Brown has a pretty low floor, but the ceiling is there for Mike Williams at 6.2. Again, more of a GPP play for me. Hunter Henry, well, he's just been pretty safe. Besides the New England game, again, no one did anything in the New England game. Like he's averaging, 7, 8 targets a game. Basically averaging double-digit fantasy points. He's a safe target here. I don't think he's going to kill you. Is he going to win you a GPP? I don't think so. Unless he probably scores a couple touchdowns. But I think, he's a safe option. I expect 7 to 8 targets. This Chargers team's been passing the ball a lot. It's a good matchup. So, yeah, Henry in the mid-range, I think is a safe option. Absolutely no issue. Again, we mentioned Ruggs. He's out. Ty Johnson, this is strictly dependent on Mike Williams. If Mike Williams plays, I have no interest in Ty Johnson. If Mike Williams is out, you can look to Tyrone Johnson, who played a good amount of the game the last game, 74% of snaps when Williams was out. Now, Renfrow, again, his role is not going to change. He's still going to play out of the slot, so it's not like he's going to line up out wide more with Ruggs out. Like, he is still just going to be the slot receiver. So nothing really changes for him. I think the ownership might go up on him. I don't think he's a bad play, though. Like, slot receiver, 9, 6, 7 targets. Raiders, again, recently they've been passing a little bit more. So 4-8, I think he's fine. I think he might be a little bit over-owned. And like I said, his role is not going to change. He's still going to play out of the slot. Like, the biggest benefit is Zay Jones and Bryan Edwards with Ruggs being out. The kickers, Badgley, Carlson, fine options below 4K. Again, kickers have upside of about 10 to 15 fantasy points. Definitely viable. The defense is not as excited with the Chargers or Raiders. Neither defense is great. Again, this one is tending towards a higher scoring game, 53 over under. So for me, I only make one lineup. I'm not really looking to the defenses. Now, Guyton at 2.8, I actually think that's a little bit too cheap. For a guy that, even if Mike Williams plays, I expect him to play a lot because he played like 80% of snaps the previous game when Mike Williams was available. So sure, he's not getting targeted a ton, but he's someone you can look to for salary relief. 4, 7, 3 targets. Again, not great, but he's going to be out the majority of the game either way. So Guyton I actually think is a pretty nice, cheap play. There's also a good amount of, now we get to like all the backup running backs. I think actually all 4 are in play. Ballage at 2.4. So, in the games that Eckler missed, he was really good. Now, the last game, 7 carries, 14 yards, 1 catch on 2 targets. The issue I have with Ballage is Justin Jackson is healthy. And right, they kind of limited Justin Jackson. I feel like Justin Jackson will leapfrog Ballage in the depth chart. So that does worry me with Ballage. Again, if we look at their most recent game, in Justin Jackson's first game back from injury, 32% for Ballage, 15% for Jackson. I think they go up for Jackson, but that's just my guess. In the last game for Jackson, he had 3 carries, 9 yards, 3 catches, and 3 targets. So both these Chargers backs are in play. Both obviously are not slam dunk plays, but I think we'll get some decent work from both. I expect the snaps to go down for Ballage and Jackson snaps to go up, but you never know. Booker and Rashard got a little bit more work than usual with Jacobs being limited. Booker had 4 carries, 8 yards of the last game, 3 catches and 3 targets. Rashard, more of their scat back, their PPR back. He had 2 carries for 10 yards, 4 catches and 5 targets. For me, I think I would give that to Rashard at 1-2. I think he's their better pass catching back. Both played similar snaps. Rashard is slightly cheaper. Rashard played 31%, Booker played 28%. So I think if you're going to make me pick there, it would be Rashard, but not saying Booker's out of play. Really, all 4 of the backup running backs are in play on the slate if you need some cheap value. Below this, Foster Moreau, him and Witten are the backup tight ends here for the Raiders. Again, I expect a target or 2 for these guys. They're more just in the dart throw range. Witten's at $200. Again, if you need something super cheap, you can do it, but don't expect more than 1 to 2 targets. Now, the guys that are intriguing that I think have upside are Zay Jones, Bryan Edwards, right? Because Aguilar is going to line up out wide. Renfro's going to line up in the slot. Who is going to line up on the opposite side out wide? Is it going to be Zone? Is it going to be Zay Jones? Is it going to be Edwards? I think it's going to be a mix of the two. To start the season, it was Bryan Edwards as the starting wide receiver, so maybe he gets the nod. I mean, he played 29% compared to Zay Jones, 24%. Both are in play. And I expect, probably around 40-ish% for both of the snaps. Zay Jones at $800. Viable. Does possess upside. Same thing with Bryan Edwards at $400. So there is actually a ton of cheap value in this slate. I think it's going to make for a really, really interesting showdown slate because for me, it's a stars and scrubs build. Like, I want to prioritize trying to get at least 3 guys at the top that we went over with the quarterbacks with those top targets, and then I'm going to find value down here. And there's a decent amount of potential value here. Below that, though, that's probably it. Like Pope, don't expect him to play. Ingold's their fullback. I mean, they actually do have targeted him 1 time or 3 times 3 games ago. He's averaging about a little over a target a game. Again, dart throw range. Theo Riddick's their 4th string back. Don't think he plays. And that really wraps it up for the player-by-player breakdown. So again, let's talk cash. And this one's a tricky one for cash games. I don't necessarily think you got to play both quarterbacks because we have Allen, we have Eckler, we have Waller. So, what would I do? I think I would get Allen and Eckler and then maybe one of the quarterbacks. I don't know, mess around with roster construction. But, I want to get, 2 or 3 of these guys at the top, and then my approach again is going to be more the stars and scrubs build, because I think there's a good amount of potential value there at the bottom. So, can we jam in 4 of these guys? Let's see. Let's just say we throw, let's just say we throw Waller in the captain with Allen, with Eckler, with one of the quarterbacks. You can still do it. So, that's kind of the build I'm going to lean towards at the moment. I like the stars and scrubs. Again, I like a lot of the guys at the top. There are still some decent plays in the mid-range where a guy like Aguilar gets a boost. Hunter Henry's really safe. Renfro's a fine play in the slot, but I think there's value here with the backup running backs, with those other wide receivers, the Raiders we talked about. So that's kind of how I'm going about this slate. And for GPPs, we know again 75% of the time either a running back or wide receiver is in the captain in the winning lineup. So the guys I really like, there's a slim group guys I would consider for the captain for GPPs. It's Keenan Allen, it's Austin Eckler, it's Darren Waller. And that's probably it. You can make the argument for Aguilar. Maybe you can make the argument for Henry. There's always the potential build of taking a shot at someone super cheap. So maybe you feel really confident about Zay Jones. You think he plays over half the game with no Henry Ruggs. Then sure, you could make a lineup with this. This is not something I would advocate for one lineup. But if you're making multiple lineups a ton, sure, he catches a long touchdown, he gets you there. So you could do something like that. And then jam in everyone else you want into the lineup, right? So that is a viable build. But really for me, the guys I'm looking to are the guys at the top. So Eckler, Allen, Waller, that's where I'm looking at captain. But that's going to do it for today's video, guys. So if you haven't enjoyed the content so far, I'd really appreciate it if you leave a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you know when to upload videos when I go live. As always, guys, again, 30 minutes before lock for the Showdown site, I'll be live, so make sure to check out the live stream. Thanks again. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you in the live stream on Thursday.